I moved to South Dakota about 5 years ago. It was my first time living alone, in a secluded house where you could go weeks without seeing anyone, and for a while it was peaceful. Then one early February afternoon, the snow went from routine to dangerous in minutes. My boss sent us home, and I fought my way back in a lifted truck, only to find my front door frozen solid. No lighter, no way to thaw it, and the storm was getting worse. The truck started sinking into the driveway, and the idea of spending the night inside a freezing metal box felt like a bad plan. With no one to call nearby, I forced myself to walk a quarter-mile through the blizzard to the closest house. It was a tiny one-story place, weathered and worn. I pounded on the door and it swung open, hard. A man, maybe around 50, introduced himself as Joe. He let me in. The heat was a relief, but something about him was off immediately. He sat across from me, but his eyes kept flicking around, ceiling, floor, over his shoulder, like he couldn't settle on reality. He'd start a sentence and trail off, staring through the wall. I asked to sleep on the couch to avoid more conversation, and he agreed. He turned off the lamp and then just stood in the doorway, silent, for what felt like a full minute before disappearing down the hall. I tried to sleep, but an hour later I heard thumping and scraping above me. Snow shifting on a roof can be noisy, sure, but this was different. The house was one story, yet it sounded like heavy footsteps overhead. A sudden, violent thump jolted me upright, and Joe was there, standing in the dark doorway like he'd been watching. Before I could speak, he vaulted over the couch and tackled me, trying to choke me. He was stronger than he looked, and he screamed at me to stop fighting. He kept referencing her, saying she was lonely and that I'd make good company. I didn't have time to understand what he meant. I fought, shoved him off, grabbed my coat, and sprinted into the storm. As I ran, I'm pretty sure I heard him yell, "She's not going to be happy." I didn't stop until I reached the next house. A normal-looking husband and wife pulled me inside and let me crash on their couch. In the morning over coffee, I told them everything. When I described the place, the husband, Brandon, cut in and asked if it was Joe. He wasn't surprised. He said Joe had been a problem for years. Then he told me something that made my skin crawl. About a decade earlier, Joe's wife had disappeared. No official investigation, no proof, no body found. But locals quietly suspected he'd killed her. Halfway through watching this, tell me in the comments, what do you think Joe meant by she? Was he talking about his missing wife or something else entirely? Would you have stayed when you heard those footsteps above a one-story house, or would you have run the moment the lights went out? I didn't speak up in the moment, but I did report what happened to the police afterward. I don't think anything came of it. I still live in the same house 3 years later. I drive past Joe's place sometimes, and every single time I feel that same cold prickle at the back of my neck. The only bright spot from that night was the family who took me in. We've stayed close ever since. If you're into real stories that walk the line between survival and mystery, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Looking back, I can't shake the detail that started it all. A one-story house with something clearly moving above me, a man who couldn't focus, and a violent outburst tied to her who never appeared. In a whiteout, explanations are easy to lose. But the question remains, like footprints that vanish in fresh snow, who, or what, was waiting above that ceiling?